Hi, I'm in the workshop today and I'm going to be making a custom bracelet for my friend Stacie. So here's my bracelet that she wants one just like it. This one is made from copper and brass, and I have riveted the two pieces together. But she wants hers out of sterling silver, so we're going to make that today. Alright, so to start, we're going to get out our sterling silver metal. I have a piece here that is about 1.5 inches, one inch by 10 inches long, and I'm going to measure off 9mm strips. Now we're going to get our saw out. I have a small jeweler's saw with a very fine blade on it. We need to wax our blade. I just have an old candle that I use. Now to get this started, I actually like to start it with some metal cutting scissors. It's too long to cut with these scissors. We run out of space, so we have to do it with a saw. But the hardest part is getting it started, so I will give it just a tiny little cut to get us started. There we go, I made a little indent. And so now we just hold on to the metal and start sawing on the line that I drew. And at one point, actually the saw is too short as well. I start running out of space. Now I'm going to have to flip it over and saw from the other side. And again, I'm going to start it with the scissors just to give the saw a place to grab onto. Okay, so now I have 2 strips of sterling silver. They're the same length and same width. I did have to do a little bit of trimming with my scissors because I felt like one of them was a little more uneven. So next up, we need to file all the edges. And I'm also going to take just a tiny little bit off the corners because that can get really sharp. So let's start with that. Just a little nip. Next up, I get out my file and I'm going to file the whole strip of metal. Corners, sides, everything, so that we know it's not going to scratch. And as I file, I continually check it to make sure that I have the desired smoothness. And I file, not only do I file flat against the metal, but I also file at angles to make sure that there's no rough spots. Alright, I think this piece is done. I'll go ahead and file off the other one. Alright, so both my strips are now filed, so they're smooth, and I polished them just a little bit so that they are nice and smooth and shiny. So the next step is to texturize. If we look at the bracelet that I made, which is copper and brass, I have 2 different textures. There's a texture on the copper side that is like kind of a circle, and then there's a texture on the brass side that is little lines. So we're going to do the same pattern for the sterling silver bracelet. I have the hammer with this face. It's going to give the texture that's on the copper side. We're going to use this side to produce the texture that's in the brass piece. So we'll start with that. This one's a little bit easier. We're just going to strike the strip of metal, and I have a bench block here so that it's metal against metal and you don't ruin your wood table. It would indent. So I'm just going to texturize the whole strip all the way down. So I think you can see that. It's starting to leave a textured mark on the metal. A little bit hard to see, the glare. Alright, so we have our two strips of metal. Each are texturized the way we want, and I have used my hole punch tool to punch the holes in the two sides of the bracelet so that I can go ahead and rivet. So let's get started on that. Alright, so I turn it upside down. I learned the hard way. You need to wait till you turn it upside down to cut it. Otherwise, if it falls out on you, it's really hard to get back in because it's going to be so small. So, cut this off with just a little bit of room to make the rivet head. Now we'll take our riveting hammer and go ahead and get that done. Actually, we need a little more off the top. Alright, be right back. Okay, we're all set. We're all riveted. I filed off the rivet heads that were sharp. The last part is to form it into an actual round bracelet, like the original copper and brass one. So I have a bracelet mandrel, and we'll start with that. And we're going to press it around the bracelet mandrel and then use a rubber mallet as well, so that we can get the metal into the shape that we want. Sterling silver is a little more rigid than copper for sure. Brass is about the same as sterling silver, maybe a little softer. But sterling silver is going to be a little bit harder to form. So it's just going to take a few minutes to kind of manipulate. Alright, so we have been shaping the bracelet. I've been shaping the bracelet using the bracelet mandrel and the mallet. I've been using my hands until I think we're all set. What do you think? We have the rivets in the back. And now there's two. I hope you enjoyed the video.